Hey everybody, it's Dave Miller with GrippingGolf Podcast, here from the workshop again. Today we're going to regrip a club. I'm going to show you both how I do that with my gripping jig, as well as using some stuff around the house for those people that don't have a whole gripping station. So watch the video. If you enjoy it, like it, leave a comment if you have questions, and subscribe to the channel for more content.
We're about to shoot a shot.
So let's first take a look at the items that we're going to need for this project. To remove the old grip, you're going to need one of these fancy carpet hook utility knives. Obviously you need a new grip, the heat gun to remove the old tape, and then I use odorless mineral spirits to get the grip tape wet, so that way you can slide the grip on and it'll dry and be perfectly tacky for you. I mentioned before, I've got a gripping station here. This sets up the tape. This is my two-sided tape. This is build-up tape, and it comes with a clamp to hold everything in. That's the way to do it. If you're going to be doing a lot of grips, having one of these is super valuable to have around the house. It recycles. You can see the tube goes down into another can, so I can save that solvent. If you don't have one of these, and you do have a bench vise, the bench vise is perfect. You can get this article here. What it does is it allows you to clamp a shaft into your vise without damaging the shaft, a measuring cup, and a paint tray to catch your solvent, because you can keep using the solvent over and over again. If you don't have any of those, or if you don't have a bench vise, I guess I should say, all you really need is something to catch the solvent, and then like a wall or the leg of a table, so where you can push the club up against it so you can set that grip. So I'll show you all three ways, give everybody some good ideas on how to get this done. Jumping right in, the first thing we need to do is remove the old grip. You can see this one's kind of slick and worn. As I mentioned earlier, we've got this utility knife with the hook for carpeting. What I do is I hold it. Some people put it in the clamp and they do that, but I hold it. You kind of put the knife in sideways like that, and you're going to cut away from you so that way you don't injure yourself in the process. But if you put the knife in straight down, you run the risk of scratching the shaft pretty deeply. So I'm going to run it all the way down the length of the shaft and start pulling it apart. Older grips take a little bit extra effort. This one's kind of old and worn. Sometimes you may need to go back in with the knife, kind of like this one, and get it cut just a little bit extra. There we go. And it should just start peeling off. Just like that. And that is the grip removal portion of it. Now we got the grip off. I'm going to strongly recommend that you remove the tape unless you're trying to build up additional layers. If you have beefier hands or you're trying to go for that Bryson DeChambeau type thickness. So the easiest way to do that is with your trusty heat gun. If you're going to do any club repair, I strongly recommend this being one of the very first things that you purchase. They're like $35 at Home Depot. So, and this one has lasted me forever. So what I'm going to do is just heat up the tape to get the glue soft, and then the tape should peel right off. So I'm going to mute the video and kind of speed it up so that way it's not breaking anybody's ears. Okay, so now we start peeling the tape. Should come off pretty easily. Just a word of caution. The tape's going to be hot. You just zapped it with a heat gun, and so you run the risk of burning your fingers slightly. So just be careful when you're doing this part, to make for sure that you're not burning yourself throughout the process. And just toss that excess tape into the trash as you get rid of it. This particular grip had a couple extra layers on there, and the bottom layer some pretty old tape. So we'll get that cleaned up and I'll show you how to get the new grip installed. All right, so the first way I'm going to do this is in my gripping station. The first step I like to take is I'll typically measure out the grip and determine with the little mark on there where I need to put the tape. That's just a reference for me to kind of speed up the process, so that way I'm not wasting excess tape throughout the process. So the angles are a little bit funky on the camera, and I apologize for that. I don't really have the best way to set up the rig to show this, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to measure out the tape and stick it to the shaft at this point. So I'll just pull an appropriate amount there. I will stick it to the shaft based on where my mark is, right about there. Smooth it on. Peel off the backing, which sometimes can actually be the hardest part of the entire process. And then make sure you get it nice and smooth around the butt end of the shaft there. Wrap it all the way around because you want to make sure that you get that grip sealed on there tightly. As for the end, I pinch it together and just tuck it in to the end of the shaft there. What I've done here is I've set it up to see how it would look like if you put it in your bench vise. You want to try to make sure you get the head as straight as possible on there. You're going to fix it later, so if it's not super close, it's okay. But then you set it up to where your paint tray catches the solvent as it falls off. What you're going to end up doing if you have one of these bottles here is you will put solvent all the way down on the grip. You'll put a little bit in the grip itself, and you'll get that tape completely wet. Push it on here, and then you'll adjust it once you take it out. You push it on. If you don't have a bench vise or the gripping station, what I would recommend doing is just holding your club over a paint tray. I'm assuming a lot of people have paint trays laying around the house. And then just doing like I said with it in the bench vise. You're just going to hold it over that paint tray and go ahead and put the solvent in there. So I'm going to flip my camera around and then show you how to position the golf club and how to get that grip on there without a vise or a gripping station. So what I've got here is I've got the club head, as you can see, pushed up against the leg of this table. You're just going to position your grip down here on the butt end of it, and you will push into the club to get that grip seated onto the shaft. Regardless of the three ways you're planning to do the gripping, adding the solvent all goes the same way. You're going to get it covered up nicely there. You'll take your grip, you'll fill it up with some solvent, swish it around a little bit, and then I like to just dribble it out of the hole on the bottom there. The grip will then slide over the end of your shaft like that. And make sure we get this lined up, and then you're just going to push it on to the shaft just like that. So like I said, with the table version, you're going to be pushing against the leg of the table where you can use a wall, and then with the vice grip, or the bench grip, I'm sorry, you're going to be pushing into the grip to get that on there. Last step in the process, you are going to pat that grip down onto the floor just to make sure it's set. If you're doing a steel shaft and you do that too hard, you will cut through the butt end. So just make sure you're giving it just a gentle tap to make sure it's seated properly. Then you're going to flip the club over and you're going to get that grip aligned. This is a little bit messy right now, so we're going to get this aligned. You have a few minutes after you put that grip on while the solvent's still wet until that grip tape dries. So use that time wisely, get these grips set straight, and you'll be happy with the finished product. Something to keep in mind as you're installing these grips is you can actually make them thinner or thicker depending on how far you stretch the grip onto the shaft. If you stretch it out pretty far down the shaft, you will make it thinner. If you don't push it all the way down, it can play a little bit thicker. If you're somewhere in between like a regular and a mid-size, you can add layers of tape. 4 layers of tape will take you from a standard to a mid-size, or a mid-size to an oversize. So keep that number in mind as well as you're doing that. So other things you can do is you can build up just under the right hand, you can build up under the left hand, you can kind of build it up however you want. That's the premise of the multi-compound plus fours that Golf Pride put out, is having a thicker bottom hand. So you can mess around with it once you figure out how to do this and find something that's comfortable and works for you. All right, that's it for this video. Getting a grip on a new club. If you have questions or comments, feel free to leave those below. Make sure you hit that like button if you like the video, and definitely subscribe to the channel for additional content if that's something that you're interested in. We'll keep making the videos if you keep watching, so subscribe today. Take care. We'll see you soon.